status of reserve currency cannot last longer than foreign confidence in the ability of the holder to honor its payments. As for a global virtual currency, there is none in sight yet, but there are attempts to launch national digital currencies that may even eventually dethrone the US dollar supremacy. Ultimately, the possible end of the United States dollar primacy will depend on what happens in the United States. As Henry Paulson, a former U.S. Treasury Secretary, says, U.S. dollar prominence begins at home. The United States must maintain an economy that inspires global credibility and confidence. Failure to do so will, over time, put the United States dollar position in peril. And there it is. As you review this information, do you think that the state of our democracy, the disruption in the elections, are inspiring global credibility and confidence? Like I've said in other videos, the dollar will collapse and no longer be used as a world currency. They are talking about it in the open. The world knows that the dollar will not last, and they are preparing for a world that will be transitioned away from it. But yet they are not preparing the population. How can we have these presidential elections and nothing about this comes up at all? The answer is clear. I'm asking rhetorically for the doubters so they can begin to do some critical thinking. In regards to a societal reset, this is what they have said. One of the most profound dangers facing the post-pandemic era is social unrest. In some extreme cases, it could lead to societal disintegration and political collapse. Countless studies, articles, and warnings have been highlighting this particular risk, based on the obvious observation that when people have no jobs, no income, and no prospects for a better life, they often resort to violence. The following quote captures the essence of the problem. It applies to the United States, but its conclusions are valid for most countries around the world. Those who are left hopeless, jobless, and without assets could easily turn against those who are better off. Already, some 30% of Americans have zero or negative wealth. If more people emerge from the current crisis with neither money, nor jobs, nor access to health care, and if these people become desperate and angry, such scenes as the recent escape of prisoners in Italy or the looting that followed Hurricane Katrina in New Orleans in 2005 might become commonplace. If governments have to resort to using paramilitary or military forces to quell, for example, riots or attacks on property, societies could begin to disintegrate. And listen to this. We do not know how the Black Lives Matter movement will evolve, and if it persists, what form it will take. However, indications show it is turning into something broader than race-specific issues. The protests against systemic racism have led to more general calls about economic justice and inclusiveness. The COVID-19 pandemic has made government important again. Not just powerful again. Look at those once mighty companies begging for help, but also vital again. Look into the future. Governments will most likely, but with different degrees of intensity, decide that it's in the best interest of society to rewrite some of the rules of the game and permanently increase their role. Youth activism is increasing worldwide, being revolutionized by social media that increases mobilization to an extent that would have been impossible before. It takes many different forms, ranging from non-institutionalized political participation to demonstrations and protests, and addresses issues as diverse as climate change, economic reforms, gender equality, and LGBTQ rights. The young generation is firmly at the vanguard of social change. There is little doubt that it will be a catalyst for change and a source of critical momentum for the Great Reset.
People. But GLSEN is doing more than just that, more than just expanding the boundaries of supporting and protecting the LGBTQ+ community. GLSEN is also telling the world that these boundaries that we've put in place have created a faulty sense of safety that we must dismantle.
They're not hiding anything. They expect riots and protests. This is a part of their plan. Again, that's why if you watch my videos about preparing for the collapse, this is what the preparations are for. In your understanding, please hold on to this. Understand that things will not go back to normal. They know things will not go back to normal. They are planning for change. You will see people, celebrities, saying things like they don't want things to go back to normal. Normal wasn't any good. They are playing games with their followers' mind. This is actually an endorsement of the Great Reset, the New World Order. Don't align yourself with that mentality. They are producing social unrest and protests so that they move the public into accepting this new world order. They already know and expect chaos and unrest, and they will use this chaos to create a new social contract. The unknowing public calling for change, protesting, and asking for things not to go back to normal are just being used as tools, being conditioned to expect a new world order. Now, as we keep reading, in reference to the geopolitical reset, they are even talking about a global government. They say, global governance is commonly defined as the process of cooperation among transnational actors aimed at providing responses to global problems. The two notions of global governance and international cooperation are so intertwined that it is nigh on impossible for global governance to flourish in a divided world that is retrenching and fragmenting. Sadly, we are now at this critical juncture. Put bluntly, we live in a world in which nobody is really in charge. Therefore, the concern is that without appropriate global governance, we will become paralyzed in our attempt to address and respond to global challenges, particularly when there is such a strong dissonance between short-term, domestic imperatives and long-term global challenges. This is a major worry, considering that today there is no committee to save the world. So, they are preparing for a world government that has someone in charge, someone with a committee to save the world. This is literally biblical prophecy of the book of Revelation jumping into reality. And with all that they're saying, they have us distracted, paying attention to what exactly?
Listen, tonight we offer the ridiculous tips to get in shape for summer. It's, of course, called Prancercise. Prancercise is described as a springy, rhythmic way of moving forward, similar to a horse's gait, and ideally...
Hold on, Anderson.
We need to be awake, not asleep. Let me jump into the next part, which is the technological reset. They have goals of completely digitizing the world and merging humans with computers.
Everything will be digitalized, which can be digitalized.
It's called transhumanism, and is a part of their agenda where we see the mark of the beast implemented. Listen to what they say on their video on the Fourth Industrial Revolution.
We are wondering what is happening to the world. Everything is changing.
The very idea of human being some sort of natural concept is really going to change.
Our bodies will be so high-tech we won't be able to really distinguish between what's natural and what's artificial.
You see, they're not hiding their agenda and goals. They are just not publicizing it to the masses. Oh, and in case your denial of this wants to say that maybe it's possible that trustful Joe Biden didn't know about this agenda, just take a look at more of the video. This is Professor Schwab talking in front of an audience. Wait, who's front row? Sitting close to Leonardo DiCaprio. Yeah, that's Joe Biden. You can see he's well aware of the agenda. And for those wanting to place Trump on a pedestal, do you think that the leader of the most powerful country in the world doesn't know about an agenda that the rest of the world knows about? Let's see.
Approaching the podium right now, being introduced by Klaus Schwab, who is the head of the World Economic Forum. Again, Donald Trump taking the stage here in Davos.
Congratulations on your 50th year hosting the annual meeting of the World Economic Forum, a truly amazing achievement. It's an honor to address the distinguished members of this organization for the second time as president.
Okay. Oh yeah, he knows very well. It's time you woke up to the world that you live in. Now, in the book, when speaking on the technological reset, they say, in the 4 short years since technological progress has moved impressively fast, AI is now all around us, from drones and voice recognition to virtual assistants and translation software. Our mobile devices have become a permanent, integral part of our personal and professional lives, helping us on many different fronts, anticipating our needs, listening to us, and locating us, even when not asked to do so. Automation and robots are reconfiguring the way businesses operate with staggering speed and returns on scale inconceivable just a few years ago. With the pandemic, the digital transformation that so many analysts have been referring to for years, without being exactly sure what it meant, has found its catalyst. During the lockdowns, many consumers previously